Hey YouTube, and thanks for watching Junkworks Garage. Well, I've had a lot of comments recently on my Wildfire lift. There is a video out there where the guy had some troubles with his bearings. And I will say, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, I have several videos on this Wildfire lift, first of all. Second of all, they are not a sponsor. They are not paying me to do the advertising or do anything on this. I admit they did pay for shipping. They ran a deal with me that if I showed it in some of my videos, they would pay for shipping to get it here. But do you really think I would have this and not show it in some of my videos? But I did pay. I paid full price otherwise, minus shipping. So, and they, you know, they don't have any say over what I say. Now, I did say, what was it, for a year I had to do so many videos and I couldn't paint it, and I didn't even have to do so many videos. I just had to make sure I had it in several videos for the first year. That's the only thing I said I would do in exchange for the shipping. They asked me if I had any problems to call them first, which I would do with any company, and I did have a bearing problem, and they fixed it just fine. I didn't have any problems reusing the bearings. Now, the other guy didn't want to reuse the bearings and was obviously upset, and I can to some extent understand that. This is your safety, and he did not feel safe, and in that case, I'm not going to badmouth anybody who doesn't feel safe and does something about it in a different way than I would. Quite honestly, as far as the safety on this machine, I still feel very comfortable. When I had the bearing problem, I noticed it when I had my truck up on the lift. And I was able to get my truck down very safely, didn't have any real problems. And I can kind of show you the reason why. And first of all, I'll show you where it was. So it was this one right here. And I will say, they do have some give to them. And when there's tension on these cables, there's no slack. And all the pressure is pulling this way on them, not up and down. Now, a couple things. I don't know what caused mine to go bad, and yes, maybe the bearings in these are, we'll call them cheaper bearings, and down the road I may have to switch out more of them. So far I haven't had any problems except for just with this one. So there's that. Now, I will also say, before that happened, I noticed some bearings on the ground. I didn't notice any broken ones. I didn't have any broken ones, I don't believe. If I did, I would have put them in that video. I do have a video on replacing this bearing. So I did have some bearings on the ground, and now that I know, if I ever see any bearings on the ground, I'm gonna address it, especially if I see it underneath these areas. Now, the reason I didn't address it before was because I did a lot of scrapping, and I find bearings around here all the time, ball bearings, so from scrapping projects and things like that. So it didn't send off a signal. Now, in the time I have been using this again, I have not seen anything on the ground. I haven't noticed anything. I do check this just about every time I get done using it. As I'm lifting up to get out of my way, I'll lift it up to this point, and I'll come in here and I'll do this exact thing right here to all of my pulleys and just check them. And I haven't found I've had any problems. So, you know, and it's been, this is September 22nd, 2022. So, in 3 or 4 months, probably in 3 months. I believe I got it in November or December. I can't honestly remember. I didn't actually put it up, I don't think, until the end of December into January. You'll have to go back and look at my videos. I honestly can't remember. But so in 3 or 4 months, I'll have had this for over 2 years or around 2 years. And so far so good. So it's, you know, been doing fine. I haven't had any more problems. Now I'm going to try and find, I'll have to look, the pulley, and I got a new pin and new bearings that they sent me. Now, and I'll show you why I was okay going ahead and just putting in what they sent me. And there's the pulley right there. So as you can see, this is the race of the bearing that got chewed up in here. This is the full thickness of the pulley. I mean, it goes in here a little ways, but in between there, so about, you know, 3/4 or more inch to an inch maybe of stuff that would have to completely break through slicing this in half before this would fail completely, and then it would still have to make it all the way through this. And as you can see, mine failed completely, but the cable stayed on the pulley and it just kind of rode around like that on the pulley. As you can see right there, you can see where the pulley kind of rode on this until I got it to come down, which I didn't have any problem bringing it down at all. So there you go. So as you can see, this pin goes all the way up through and into a catch up here, the pin that I showed you, and it catches up in here. So, and then on top of that, there is some sleeves and things like that, plus the bearings, plus the pulleys. So even if this pulley or these bearings were completely to fail, and this pulley was completely to somehow split in half, and this cable was allowed to come this way, it still has this big giant shear pin going all the way through here that it would have to completely fall apart on before this jammed up and pretty much quit working, or before a cable came snapping off. Okay, so let's say all that happens, which I don't believe. I'm not going to say it couldn't happen, but I don't believe it would happen that way. You would really notice things before any of that happened. Get it down off the, you know, you'd get out from underneath it first of all, and then try and slowly bring it down and you'd be fine. It's just not going to happen. But regardless, so let's say all this happened and a cable snaps. So a cable snaps. So that's where this comes in. This is spring loaded right here. This would snap shut and get caught in one of these. Okay? Let's say that failed. There's also another one up underneath this box right here that will snap close and also catch in these. The chances of this, the other safety one that's up here, and that going, this cable going all the way through that pin somehow in, you know, in the time that it just isn't going to happen. I don't know how else to say it. That's why I feel very safe underneath this lift. There are more than a few safety catches and more than one safety thing if something bad happens. Worst case scenario, this, you know, something up in here would fail and you might drop down, a corner of it might come down some, which would suck, because trying to get it all the way down, you'd have to definitely get some help and figure out a way to get your car off. But the chances of that happening are just almost none. For every single thing to fail as far as safety on this, I'm just not worried about it. And even if this was to fail like it did before, because this bearing completely failed, this bottom one right here, it was still, even though the bearings failed, it was still riding, the cable was riding in this bearing on this pin here. And the pin had a little bit of damage, but hardly anything at all, and they gave me a new one. So that's why, you know, it's just one of those things. They gave me a new pin, a new pulley, and a new bearing. I do believe they were just trying to give me a new bearing, but trying to get the bearing out, it was so messed up. It had seized into this pulley, and so I needed a new pulley as well. You might get away with just replacing a bearing if yours doesn't fail quite as bad as mine did. So there you go. I mean, as you can see also, I actually lube these. Now it says you don't have to, but I have some pulley. It's a specific lube. This right here, it is, I don't know if you can read it, but it's chain and cable lubricant. Now this came from my dad. When he passed, I found this, and I brought it home knowing I could probably use it one day, and I use it on this. I just take this and I shoot a little bit up in here like that, and then I run my lift up and down, and you know, does it help? Does it hurt? I don't think either way it really matters, but I figure that'll just kind of lube it up and help these cables to last a little bit longer. It is made to put on cable, so I have actually kind of ran up and down these a couple times and sprayed them. I do it to every single one of the pulleys in this system, and a little better than what I did. I try and kind of get it up in there. But regardless, that's what I do to, just for safety's sake. That allows it to turn and spin and move on here a little easier than maybe it would without it. So, first of all, I'm not an engineer. Could all those things fail and this thing could come crashing down? Maybe. Is it going to? I'll flat out say no. So, but yet again, I'm no engineer. I'm no expert in any of this stuff, but I can look at machinery and kind of figure things out, how they work and what would happen if certain things fail. And I had already gone through and kind of looked at that before I ever put a car on this lift. So that's why I bought this one. The reason I bought this one is I saw all the different safety features it had and the build quality, and I bought this lift, yet again with my own money. So that is the reason why I'm not scared to be underneath this lift. The reason why I'm doing this video at all is, like I said, I'm getting quite a few comments about, hey, are the bearings holding up? And I have to say, no, I had one fail. But I don't want that to scare people away from buying one of these, because for a DIYer, I think this is as close to a professional unit that you're going to get in your garage. And when it came to a lot of the other ones, even including some of the real popular ones, I felt the way this was put together, especially with the way this is, where it's a solid unit, not just C-channel, and the way this wraps around it, and the way the cables work, and all that kind of stuff, it's beefy. Because of that, I do think it's one of the best ones a homeowner could buy, and quite honestly, if I was a professional shop, I would probably buy these a lot, because for the price you could use these without any problems. And even if you do have a problem, you're not going to have a huge problem. They took care of me, no problems. Now I do know the prices of these went up since I bought them, which might put it out of some people's ballpark, but yet again, I have a feeling there's probably part of the reason for that. I'm sure that they are probably upgrading some of these kind of things. I don't know for sure, but I would assume that if the price goes up, they're probably doing a little bit different manufacturing or something like that. So, plus the price of everything is going up. So that could be the only reason too. So, anyhow, I feel perfectly safe. My family feels safe with me under it, and I'm so happy with this thing. Every time I use it, I can't imagine being on the ground again and trying to get up off the ground with my bad leg and smashing my head on the floor. It happened. That's why I bought this lift. So hopefully you got something out of this. You know, yet again, you need to look at things for yourself as far as safety concerns. I'm not responsible if you buy one of these and unfortunately something happens. Well, there you go. Now you know. Hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully everybody stays safe out there. And you need to do what you need to do when it comes to safety. Alright, thanks for watching Junkworks Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all and master of none. You all have a good one.